It's going to be a very telling day. Good morning, 6:05. Glad you are starting off the day with us on 95.7 FM KCMO. We are 1 hour and 25 minutes away from the jobs report dropping, and this is one of the more fascinating jobs reports that we have gotten in a very long time, and that is because it will be the first jobs report after all the tariff conversations have kickstarted over the last few weeks. The expectations are to not have a great jobs report. That's what Wall Street's expecting right now. Here are the numbers that are expected to come out next hour. The U.S. economy will add 135,000 jobs, and that the unemployment rate will stand pat at somewhere around 4.2%. Those are the estimates from economists. We'll see what comes out. I just know this much. No matter what happens, the hysteria is going to be very much on brand because people are looking for chaos right now. They don't want calm. They don't want to, make you look at the long term here. They just want to drum up some short-term chaos because when 92% of the media coverage in this country over the last 100 days about the president has been negative, well, that is the drumbeat that will continue today, no matter what these jobs numbers look like. And the reality is this: it's probably not going to be a great report, not because some massive recession is around the corner, but more so because there's just uncertainty. I think a lot of people are just waiting for all this to settle down, get some trade deals lined up, figure out where we're going, and then we'll be off to the races. Extend those Trump tax cuts from 2017. Let Congress do its role on that front. Get these tariffs all squared away and figure out the trade deals that you've got with other countries. And then you're basically in a very good spot. But we know that, Wall Street doesn't act that way necessarily on a day-to-day basis. But I will say this much. Dow futures, S&P futures, NASDAQ futures, all up. They're not up big time right now. 2.5 hours until the markets open up. But they are all up in the early morning trading hours. Why? Well, because China has signaled an openness to trade talks with the United States. That is what is driving the markets very early this morning to be in the green in the pre-trading hours. So that's obviously a great sign because we know China is the ultimate trade partner that we are trying to get concessions from. Yeah, we got to figure out India, South Korea. Sure, we got to move from some manufacturing out of China. There's no doubt about it. But the big kahuna in all this is how this ends with China. And China at least has announced that it is evaluating the possibility of starting trade negotiations with the United States. So with all this, Bill O'Reilly was on yesterday here on KCMO Talk Radio. If you missed it, it's up on the podcast. You can check it out after the show. He joined me, and we talked about his interview with President Trump from Wednesday night in the News Nation Town Hall. And I asked him, hey, can the president calm down the folks when it comes to the markets and the economy at large? And here's what Bill had to say. Do you feel like he is trying to and successfully settling people down on that issue in particular?
I don't know about settling people down because that's going to be the stock market, not anybody's words. I can tell you that he believes 100% that he's going to win the tariff wars and prosperity is going to come very quickly to the country. And he's rolling the dice. He knows it. And a strong point he made in the interview last night was, look, I didn't have to do this. I could have laid it back like every other president and allowed the $1 trillion a year trade deficit to go on and on and on, which is what every modern president has done. But I just think it's outrageous. And if you really want to create a robust economy in the United States, the world's biggest market, you got to have fair deals. And I thought that resonated in a nonpartisan way so that people now know what it is. But it might not work. It all depends on the markets.
And that's where you have to take a step back. That was Bill O'Reilly yesterday right here on KCMO Talk Radio. He joined me in the 8 o'clock hour. That's where you've got to take a step back and say, no matter what you think of this guy and what he is trying to accomplish here, Bill is right to note that there's really not an inherent benefit in the short term for Trump doing this. He knows the media is going to just destroy him no matter what. Now he's actually put something on a silver platter for him, at least for the short term, knowing full well he's rolling a bit of a dice, he's taking a risk, and he's hoping, obviously, the country comes out much better on the other side. And nobody else in my lifetime, and frankly in most of our lifetimes, has tried to do this because they've just cared about the next election. They've just cared about their own popularity. They figure, the American people, they don't really care about these things, deficits, debt. Like, they just want to, buy what they want to buy as cheap as possible on Amazon and the rest be damned. That's it. That's all they care about. It's like, wait, no. We're going to look at what is in the best interest for this country for the first time in a long time for the next 50, 100 years. Because on the trajectory we're on, China's going to be smoking us before long. And that's the game, and that's the decision that Donald Trump has elected to make here. So we will see what comes out this morning from the jobs report, but don't expect it to be great, and then just know the media is going to do its thing. Like this from the Associated Press yesterday. Trump says it's Biden's economy, but businesses and economists beg to differ. So that was following Trump putting up a Truth Social saying, hey, what's going on right now, I'm trying to fix all of Biden's problems. This is Biden's stock market, not Trump's. Here's the thing. It's why during Trump 1.0, I said, don't go down the road of the stock market. You can't really brag too much because if you brag when it goes up, you got to take a little heat when it goes down. Now, obviously, the stock market going up is not just good for Wall Street. It's good for regular folks who have 401ks and IRAs and, pensions and all these other things, right? So that's all true. There's no doubt about it. But you do have to be careful if you brag too much about the market. I mean, Joe Biden had technically a great stock market, and the guy's party got his clock cleaned the last couple of election cycles. So Trump's better argument is, hey, we're having a little bit of pain on Wall Street, not as much as people have insisted. We're having a little bit of pain on Wall Street, but in the end, this is a Main Street play here. That's the name of the game. It's a Main Street play. And despite all the fear-mongering, the S&P 500 is up from last year, May 2nd to today, 10.66%. The NASDAQ is up nearly 12%, 11.8%. The Dow is up 6.6% from last year, May 2nd to this year, May 2nd. I just pulled these numbers up on my phone. So when people say, Trump's killing my retirement, really? You're up 10% year over year? Your retirement's getting killed? Please. Come on. I mean, just at least have some facts. Is it down from the peak of all peaks in February? Yeah. Okay. Yes. Sure. Yes, it is. You're right. But look at the big picture. My gosh. For once, just look at the big picture. And it's not even that big of a picture. We're talking about 12 months ago, which is typically how you would judge the stock market in most cases. So it is going to be a very interesting report, 1 hour and 15 minutes away. We'll have it covered for you here on KCMO Talk Radio. In the meantime, the Maryland man has a tie to Missouri in this latest viral arrest video that was dropped by Fox News. What is that Missouri tie? We'll share it with you coming up on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio. Oh, Alec Baldwin's movie Rust is coming out. Is that the one where he killed that person? Man, that took a while to get to the theaters, huh? Good morning, 6:19. It is good to be here on KCMO Talk Radio. So we have some new information on the Democrats' favorite boy toy. His name is Kilmar Abrego Garcia. He is the man who is now down in El Salvador. So new footage was released by the Tennessee Highway Patrol after he was pulled over back in 2022. And Kilmar is driving this vehicle that allegedly is involved in human smuggling, as noted by Tennessee state troopers. And there was one point in the video, I watched the entire body camera footage last night, where Kilmar mentions where he is planning to go with these individuals.
Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good, and you?
All right.
Everything good?
You got a bunch of people in here, don't you?
It's 1 for shit. Yes. Go back to work.
Gotcha. Where are you working at?
Where?
Where?
San Luis, Missouri.
Missouri?
Yes,
St.
sir.
Louis.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I'm from Maryland.
Okay. Now, the reason I stopped you, we was running 75 down through here.
75?
Yeah. Of course, this is 65 through here.
I know. I'm going to 70.
Going 70?
Yeah. What's the limit right now? Is 70 or 65?
It's 65.
I can see it, sir.
Oh, yeah. Whoops. So that was Kilmar Abrego Garcia. And according to the Tennessee state troopers, they believe that he was involved in human smuggling. He had like 8 people in the car. You can hear at the beginning of that body camera footage, the cops like, a lot of people back there. Where are you going? And right away, what does Kilmar say? He goes, he sounds like somebody who's making something up. He goes, where? Oh, St. Louis, I think he called it. St. Louis, Missouri. And he said he's going. It's like, yeah, that's believable. Trying to make up the closest city you could think of, the last one you saw on a highway sign as you were driving through Tennessee. So this happened in 2022. And a trooper can be heard saying later in the video, quote, he's hauling these people for money. And this footage comes after another abuse report has been released where Abrego Garcia's wife accused him of being physically and mentally abusive. So this is now a story that, as you peel layers on the onion, is getting worse and worse and worse for the Democrat Party that has embraced this guy, that has wrapped themselves around this man as if he is some kind of choir boy. The other news that you had this week is that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, his wife's ex-husband, called Kilmar a gang member in a court filing. Now, once again, that's an accusation, but still, once again, you peel every layer of this onion, and is this the person that you want to be strapped to? Is this the person that you want to use your political capital on? If you're Senator Van Hollen up there in Connecticut, is this the person that you think you want to wrap yourself around and say, this is my guy, and, you know, this is how regular Main Street Americans are going to reconnect with our party? No one in their right mind would come to that conclusion. And then you have this angle as well for this story. So Garcia in the video, it's about a 5-minute body cam video. Garcia starts mentioning his boss, and he gets the boss on the phone. He says the car isn't his. This is back in 2022. He says he's hauling them for construction to work in St. Louis. And here's the amazing part. According to Fox News, who had the body camera footage first, footage obtained by Fox News shows that they report ICE was called in this incident. What did ICE do? Nothing. ICE did not come to get this individual.
Come on, man.
And that is exactly what the country was dealing with over the last few years. You have somebody who didn't really have any ID on him. He had an expired license. Who knows if it was his? He's hauling people. The cops suspect human smuggling, and he's basically making up where he's going. They call up ICE, and ICE doesn't do anything. That is the last 4 years in a nutshell. At its very core, that's what it is. And the fact that you've got people trying to defend any of this, trying to excuse any of this, it's truly unbelievable, John, is what it is.
I didn't know if St. Louis was a sanctuary city or not.
Yeah.
I
don't know what they were doing over there during that period of time.
We know they would have been sympathetic.
Yes.
So I didn't know if he maybe picked that out. They go, hey, this is the closest sanctuary city. Tell them that, and nobody will mess with you once you get there.
That's a good point. I mean, I know that they're
not showing up.
Their former mayor, she got kicked out here recently, but she made Quentin Lucas look like he was a MAGA waving, MAGA hat wearing kind of a guy. So she got the boot yesterday for, I guess, a more moderate liberal Democrat that's possible over in St. Louis, but you're right. That's a good point. I don't know if that was just a convenient answer or if he always wanted to say St. Louis to a cop. I don't know what he was going for, but you're right about that. So that's where this story, I think what's going to happen here is this story is going to fade very quickly. The media and Democratic politicians are going to act like Kilmar Abrego Garcia never existed. We are probably a news cycle or two away from them totally forgetting about this guy because they are realizing the optics look horrible. And they do look, they've looked horrible since the get-go. The problem is they just keep looking worse for them.
Looks like there's an invoice here for free Owen bumper stickers. So that might be the next project.
Oh,
we'll forget all about Abrego.
They may be going with the Owen McIntyre deal. And that is, of course, the young man who is right now sitting in his parents' house in Parkville after he allegedly lit the Cybertrucks on fire on State Line Road. And speaking of that, there was an interesting twist on that story as well here. So yesterday afternoon, it was reported that prosecutors are looking to make a decision here. Federal prosecutors told the court that they intend to file motions to revoke McIntyre's bond and reopen the detention hearing based on new evidence in that case. Owen McIntyre, of course, was released back to his parents in Parkville. Why? Well, because of his mental health, which includes the fact that he has been receiving treatment for his gender dysphoria. You heard that right. But now the new layer yesterday is that federal prosecutors are trying to revoke McIntyre's bond. We don't really have the details as to why. I have not seen anything as to the why being reported on that. But that is a change in this case from where it was just yesterday when, of course, McIntyre found himself in a position where he was able to walk back to his parents' house and go back to Parkville because, well, he's getting treatment for gender dysphoria, which he's been getting since March. And on March 17th is when he allegedly went down to the Tesla dealership on State Line Road and threw a couple of Molotov cocktails at the Cybertrucks. So because he is using gender dysphoria as a reason for why he cannot be in jail, he finds himself at home right now. I mean, it's you can't make this stuff up. But it's where we find ourselves right now. And good job by the federal prosecutors saying, we're not putting up with this. No, we're not doing it. No way, no how. 913-408-7957 is how you join us on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. We're streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. Allegations of racism in the Northland. The details are next. Oh, boy. Oh, I don't want the Northland to ever look bad. I don't want any part of Kansas City to ever look bad. But now you have residents in the Northbrook subdivision who are being targeted by this latest story. Residents of a Northland neighborhood say that they are outraged after discovering more than 20 racist flyers taped to utility poles just days after a black teenager was shot and killed in the area. So this goes back to last week when, I guess this would have been on Tuesday or Wednesday. The story's from April 25th. A teenager was identified as the young man killed in an afternoon shooting in Kansas City's Northland, 7800 block of Northeast 75th Court at about 2:15 in the afternoon. So at the scene, officers found a young man who they now confirmed was a teenager, and he was pronounced dead after being taken to the hospital. Very unusual for this part of town and this part of the Northland, but it's part of a bigger theme that we've talked about here on KCMO, and that is, unfortunately, the increase in homicides in the Northland in particular. And we talked to the mayor about this yesterday. He admitted that he's got concerns about what's going on up there. So far this year, there have been 14 homicides in the Northland part of Kansas City, Missouri. That number last year at this point was 3. So then this layer of the story happens where we get these racist flyers that appear on poles around the Northbrook neighborhood. And here's how KMBC reported it.
Residents say the usual concern is how tall the dandelions get, and not this or this.
We had gone on one block and every single street light had at least one or two.
Racist flyers.
Nazi symbols, swastikas, and horrible things that I won't even say.
Stuck to dozens of light poles starting Tuesday night, neighbors went into action.
We just went with a paint scraper and fingernails and just ripped down everything we could.
This is the same neighborhood where 17-year-old Charles Sanders was shot and killed last week.
It didn't matter what his race was. It didn't matter whether he lived there or not. We were just so saddened. For two things to happen a week apart, back to back, it does feel deliberate.
Residents are sounding a cry. Racism isn't welcome here.
Anyone who is trying to come in and stir a pot or start some sort of racial tension, race war, it's not going to work.
Now, fairly covered by Channel 9. They didn't take a broader approach to this. They didn't make it about people in the Northland. I do find it interesting that the one person who was on camera for this was that individual you just heard from, who just happened to have purple hair. I kid you not. I don't know what to make of that, but it just seems like quite the coincidence that the one lady who happens to stumble upon these racist signs that appeared on light poles in this Northland neighborhood and then jumped on local news to talk about it happened to be purple-haired. I don't know. It just, maybe it's just a coincidence. I don't know. But then I started looking at some of these flyers, and whoever did this, you're not going to look at them and say like they're some diehard conservative. They're clearly some type of complete wacko. Because one of the signs on the light poles read, "Every single aspect of gun control is Jewish." So this is clearly somebody who, first off, you live in Missouri, okay? You can't get more pro-Second Amendment in this country than the laws that we have on the books, or lack thereof, in the state of Missouri, John. So this is really not like an anti-Democrat, anti-Kansas City politician deal, because that is just a Jewish thing. That's just somebody who's going full-blown anti-Semite and blaming gun control on the Jews.
Yeah, it's a member of the extreme, right?
Yeah.
And we're predisposed now to judge those that are in the opposite party of us by the extreme portion of it, right? And so, like to your point, this person's not politically motivated. They're racially or ethnically motivated, and they're part of an extreme small fringe group. Got triggered by something, and I'm not sure what.
And I'm not sure what either.
Whether
because
was it the shooting or
would this have happened anyway? Because that's what I can't figure out here.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have this young black male, Charles Sanders, who was shot and killed nearby, 17 years old last week. And that's a tragedy in and of itself. But you look at some of these flyers, like about Hitler and about, Jews run gun control, and you may not see race, but race sees you. It's not clear that this ties to what happened last week. Right? Like, I don't know. And I'm not saying that local media is trying to do that. I thought KMBC just kind of reported the news. They interviewed one person. Now, I wish they had more people on camera to try to figure out how this happened. Did anybody see somebody walking around in broad daylight putting up these flyers? Like, I would be curious to know that. Maybe you know something about it, but I've just got to know more about this story. I think that's always important, no matter what. 6:40 on a Friday morning on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. The 6 at 6 is a few minutes away. And also, we've got your last chance at Kansas and 38 special tickets 1 hour from now. We'll give those away here on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM and streaming on the KCMO Talk Radio app. In the meantime, don't get too excited about something happening in Jeff City, okay? I had some people reach out to me yesterday, and they said, hey, I think we're getting tax cuts done down in Jeff City. They're going to do it for the folks in Missouri. From what I'm hearing, it's not going to happen because the Senate cannot get its act together. The House may pass something, but remember, I'm not really interested in hearing about what might happen on the House side in either of our legislatures. when there's no way it gets through the other chamber and then, of course, never gets to the governor's desk. Like, I'm not interested in hearing about political wins that don't do anything for the people. I don't know about you, but that's just me. So when I started hearing yesterday from people down in Jeff City being like, hey, tax cuts are on the table, there's a couple of weeks left. And while the governor's been pushing for it, along with John Patterson, who's the Speaker of the House from Lee's Summit, apparently the Senate is just taking its sweet time. Now, this may have impacts on the stadiums as well. From what I've heard, there have been meetings down in Jeff City lately between Jackson County officials, the governor, leadership in the House and the Senate, and no one's clear on what their next move is going to be, which means there's not going to be a move. So then what happens after that? The thing that we need to watch next in this stadium deal is whether or not the state of Kansas goes back to the drawing board and extends the offer on Star Bonds beyond the deadline of this coming June. I think it's June 30. If that happens, then this saga may continue to drag on in and around Kansas City with the Chiefs and the Royals. If that deadline holds firm, then the Chiefs and the Royals know that our leverage around Kansas City basically goes away here in about 2 months. So at that point, we then just have to make a decision. And we may not love what Jackson County is offering. We may not love that the state of Missouri, we don't think, in their opinion, is doing enough. But we lose all leverage at that point once Kansas and that Star Bond deal goes away. If Kansas extends the Star Bond offer and they say, you know what, 12 months extension, we'll give you till next year, then this thing is far from over. And it will just continue to go around and around and around and around and be negotiated as such. So that's what I'm hearing out of Jeff City. If you start seeing things on social media, just know that take it with a grain of salt. How can you not get behind this? I actually don't understand why and how, regardless of your politics and your beliefs, you wouldn't be able to get behind Doge. I can't understand it. Did you hear last night any of the interview that was on Fox? Jesse Waters had on Elon Musk and some of the Doge folks. It was very similar to what Brett Baer did about 5-6 weeks ago. We need more Doge guys all over media. Like, not once a month, not once every few weeks. We need these guys talking as much as they possibly can. I think that normally in politics, if you're talking and explaining, you're losing. I think with these Doge guys, the more they talk, the more they're going to win. The more they point out the absurdity of how our tax dollars have been wasted and spent over the last, decades now at this point, but certainly the last few years, people are going to be outraged. And all this nonsense coming from like the Kansas City IRS building of, you can't let anybody go. You can never have a cut. No, you can. Okay, you can. We're bloated. Government's way too big. It's grown tremendously the last few years with wasteful spending, unnecessary hires. It's got to be shrunk. It's got to be rolled back at the federal, state, and local levels, including Kansas and Missouri. And forget the municipal levels. That's a joke right now. It's grown tremendously and way too fast. But take a listen to some of what was discussed last night when it comes to cutting government spending and one loophole in the system that Doge has finally closed.
Sure. So actually, a lot of great work at the Treasury this week. One of the crazy things with regards to the Treasury is that when a payment is made, and the computers at the Treasury actually pay about $5 trillion per year, like crazy amounts, there was formerly not a budget code on there. So if a payment was made, you didn't know actually what it was for. It could have been for anything. Yeah. There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education, and there was no receipts required, so people could just draw down on it. And when people looked into it, this wasn't us, this was before us, they found that money was being used to rent out Caesar's Palace for parties, rent out stadiums, et cetera. And so the one change that Doge made with the Department of Education is we had the simple requirement that if you draw down money, you must first upload a receipt. That was the only change that was made. You must upload your receipt. And upon doing so,
yes,
nobody drew down any money anymore.
But we didn't say that we'd check the receipt. You could send a fake receipt. You could send a picture of your dog. Anything. Anything.
Did you hear what Elon Musk and that Doge employee just said? People were drawing down from $1 billion, $4 billion, basically slush fund to rent out Caesars and rent out stadiums. And they made it now so all you had to do was upload a receipt. And suddenly, nobody was drawing down any money. Even though you could have sent in a fake receipt, they weren't even checking the receipts, John.
So Caesars, yeah. I tried my Chuck E. Cheese pizza, but it didn't work. They're doing little Caesars.
Oh, well, you might as well try.
You know,
give it your best shot, man. Hey, Chuck E. Cheese, that's chump change compared to renting out stadiums and Caesar's Palace, right?
Sure.
Oh, my goodness.
Sure.
How can you? I cannot grasp. There are things that I can always understand. I think for the most part, people that I disagree with on really anything, I can generally see their side. Even if it's not based in fact, like I can usually see their side on most things where they get maybe overly emotional, want to see the emotion over the fact. I can understand a lot of things. I can't for the life of me understand this. Why you would be so fed up with what Doge is accomplishing and continuing to try to achieve on behalf of you, the taxpayer, that's getting in the car right now, turning on 95.7 FM, sipping your coffee, going to work, leaving your family, leaving your kids, and giving a large chunk of your money to a federal government that has been wasting it and being wildly irresponsible with it for multiple administrations and going on decades at this point. Why would you not want this? Like, take out your feelings about Elon Musk. Try to do it. Try to put the Trump derangement syndrome at the door. And tell me what is so bad about having a system like this in place that just says, hey, you're not going to draw down from a Department of Education slush fund to rent out Caesar's Palace, or in John's case, try to rent out Chuck E. Cheese for a little bit.
No, we've talked about how the left might replace the government or replace religion with the government.
Yeah.
So this is tantamount to putting your hand in the collection plate as it goes by you, Pete.
Yeah,
right?
That's a good analogy.
The way they look at it.
Yeah, that's a good point, man.
That's not the way to look at it, though, right?
If government is your God, then anything that is looked at as a potential detriment to that God is viewed negatively. That's got to be the takeaway here, and you're right. We've talked about it. But, man,
assuming any sanity in the reasoning, of course.
At some point, if government is your God, you're kind of dealing with a crazy person.
Yeah, maybe so. Yeah.
But
strike my last comment.
But you're right, though. I mean, it's a fair comment to make. When that is what you view as the end-all, be-all, right? And you don't have any kind of spiritual angle to anything that you do, and it's all about the government and, my political leaders. And I'll say this much, too, just to be fair. It's the same thing for some people on the other side. I was emceeing the Jackson County GOP event. Gosh, this was it was Masters weekend, so whatever that was, 3 weeks ago. And they had a VIP event beforehand. So, you mingle and talk to people and meet them. And, I'm talking to various folks. And one very nice lady walks up to me and she says, so what do you think about Trump so far? I said, I think he's doing a really good job. Said, he's probably knocked it out of the park on 99% of issues. She goes, looks at me, death stare. What do you disagree with him on? I'm like, honestly, I can't really think of anything right now. I'm just saying, out of principle, I will never say I agree with a politician 100% of the time. Just out of principle, that's me. Unless I'm the person, I don't agree with myself 100% of the time.
You can be talked out of that.
Yeah, I don't agree with my wife 100% of the time. Trust me, she'll be the first one to tell you. And she doesn't agree with me. So why would I agree with a politician, even if it's the ones I vote for 100% of the time? So I explained that to her, and I don't think she liked my answer. So she just walked away. And I said, no matter what, no matter how you feel, okay, that's the kind of stuff that we've got to get out of the business of. There is not a single person on this planet that you should feel like you agree with 100% of the time. Because if you do, at that point, you're in a cult, okay?
Touche. It's like a filter or something. I guess I don't even have to consider it that I don't agree with everybody 100% of the time. You couldn't.
No, you couldn't. I mean, outside of here where you got to pretend you like me, John, and you agree with me. That's it. That's the only time you got to do it. But it's all a ruse anyway, so it's fine. It's totally fine. Oh, stop giving me things to celebrate on a Friday. Stop. Stop. This is, oh, man. I missed this late last night. I woke up to the good news this morning. Woo! The president signed an executive order terminating federal funding for National Panhandler Radio. That's right. Now, I'm pretty sure Congress has to do something about this first, but I'll take the executive order for now. Okay, I mean, I'm sick of kicking their butts, but we'll keep doing it here on KCMO. You think they're reporting that on KCUR this morning? Think they got a big headline story on their own company being defunded by a Trump executive order, or do you think they might have skipped over that one this morning over on KCUR? I don't know. If somebody wants to let me know, I'm fine with that. Just text in at 913-408-7957. But my guess is that story was conveniently left off the rundown today, John.
Well, they are starting a drive and giving away coffee cups. And, so they're trying to make up.
Oh, man. I guess they'll do whatever they have to do to, get through. Like, I think if it all went private, I think PBS would be fine because PBS is much less political. You know, you got the documentaries on there, people across the aisle like that. PBS will be A-okay. NPR, I mean, if they want to basically bill that for what it is and try to sell that for what it is, which is just, liberal news, that's fine. I mean, just own what you are, but don't act like you're a news operation when you're not. I don't pretend to be a news operation. We're a talk show.
Yeah, that's the thing. In principle, I agree with the concept of having NPR or PBS. However, it's just leans. It's fluctuated. It's never neutral or it's never both. It's just one way.
Yep, exactly right.
Now, there are other quality programs on there I'd hate to lose, but perhaps not enough, as you would point out, to sustain itself as its own business model.
Bingo. And I think there are a lot of very wealthy liberals who would fund PBS in a heartbeat, just out of principle, especially if Trump defunded them and the Republicans defunded them. I mean, they would give PBS double what they got from the government, just out of spite, right? And if that's what they want to do with their money, that's cool. I mean, if you just can't get enough of the Ken Burns documentaries, and they are good, some of them, cool, that's great. NPR, I think that's going to be a tougher lift. But we'll see. I still don't know what this executive order actually means because I've got to imagine this should be part of a budget deal with Congress. But you know what? I'll take it. I'll celebrate it on a Friday morning. And it is great to be here with you on KCMO. 20 minutes away from those Kansas 38 special tickets we're giving away for the last time this week on 95.7 FM. Now, did you see this viral video that has been picked up all over the country? A reckless driver causing a 3-vehicle crash on an Ohio interstate. So this is just, some people have no business being on the roads. So this person is about to miss their exit. All right, the exit's off to the right side, and they're about to miss the exit. There are 3 lanes on this highway, and the right lane, of course, will allow you to go straight on the highway or allow you to merge off to the right side and get off the exit. This driver, and I will share it on X so you can see it, but you can hear this and you can probably envision this right now if you're driving down one of our interstates. This person's about to miss the exit. They stop in the middle of the highway, in the middle lane, and they start waiting to figure out a way to get over across the right lane. Now, they put their hazards on as if that was going to accomplish anything. And immediately, the car behind them, to their credit, actually stops. The car 2 behind them stops. But then they get plowed by a car who's behind the 2 vehicles who are stopped behind the car who is trying to get over to the right side to get off the exit. And it's like, this is the dumbest thing you could possibly do if you are a driver and you miss your exit. Keep going. Just keep going. You see this stuff, and this is like a really bad example, but I feel like you see this stuff all the time, where it's like, I missed my exit. I'm going to stop in the middle of an interstate in the middle lane and wait to get over, as if all the other cars going 60, 65, 70, 75 miles an hour are magically going to expect to stop with nothing to suggest they should be stopping. It's not like you're approaching a traffic jam where you're like, oh, I can see that coming. That's not what this is, John.
Well, I have a sort of the opposite thing, but two places here in town. Southbound I-35 at 75th Street.
Okay.
Southbound I-49 coming to Blue Ridge out in Grandview. 4 miles, a huge yellow sign says, this lane exit only to 75th Street. These two lanes exit only to Blue Ridge. Miles! And you see these turds do the last-minute evasive maneuver, cutting people off where they go into triangle area. I also see it right out here, too, where you have people running on the inside lanes where you get the dual exits, the Metcalf and all, the whole deal here, and people doing the quick stutters in and out of lanes because they don't know where they're at. Look up.
Yeah, you're right.
Pay attention.
The road-null double exit there gets tricky on people
Pretty
sometimes.
scissory, you know.
Yep, it sure does.
Sure.
That's a great point.
Yeah, but we have people who are in the exit lanes bailing out of them here as much as anything.
Yes, you're right about that as well. That Metcalf one is tricky because suddenly it sneaks up on you. I'll admit, if you don't know what you're doing, you're like, wait, I'm getting off Metcalf. I don't want to get off at Metcalf. I better keep going on 435.
Well, all the bozos that are coming from Revere are going 80 in the inside lane. So when you're coming down the ramp to try to get out of those, it's like the dodgeball game where you see somebody get plowed in the head.
Yes, it is. You're right. I will share this video, though. If you've got young drivers in the house or something especially, make sure this is a no-no. All right? I mean, I can't fathom being a driver for more than a week and not realizing this is an awful idea.
I told both my boys, you go to the next exit and turn around. Either go across the bridge, come down the other side, or just turn around.
Did I ever tell you the time I probably have to save it. I got into one bad accident because I was not looking in the direction the car was going. Down at Villanova, saw a buddy, and I started, waving to him out the car window. Now, I was going 30 miles an hour on a side road, but I plowed into the side of a truck. And I scratched the entire side of the car. Look the direction the vehicle is going. But you know what? When you're dumb in 19, that stuff happens. Breaking news here in the last 20 minutes. The jobs report for April comes out, and it exceeds expectations by a long shot. 177,000 jobs added. The expectations were for 137,000 jobs. So at a time when a lot of people thought that they would come in under expectations because of tariffs and market uncertainty and business uncertainty, that is certainly not what happened. And government jobs were down. So it's not like this was the classic jobs report the last 4 months or 4 years where you had a jobs number come in exceeding expectations, and then it would be like, by the way, when you look at the numbers, the government was one of the largest employers or gainers of the month. That's not what happened here. In fact, we saw a reduction in April of 9,000 federal jobs. So this is a very solid number. We also saw a higher labor force participation rate, up to 62.6%. So that is a good sign as well. More people getting back into the economy is good for the economy. Like this is a sign, too, that maybe the worker is a little more optimistic than what the headline news would be telling you. Because if you're seeing an increase in the labor force participation rate, I don't know what more you could ask for. That's outstanding. And wage growth was up year over year by 3.8%. So the wage growth exceeded inflation, which is also a good sign of an economy that is exceeding expectations. So listen, don't listen to the fear mongers, okay? Don't do it. I'm not saying that there's not a little bit of a risk here. There is. We've never tried something like this, at least not in modern American history. So there is a roll of the dice. But if you trust the people in charge, and if you voted for them, you knew that this was going to be part of the economic plan, then let's see how this thing plays out in the weeks and months ahead. I don't think it's going to take as long as some people are predicting. And now China's saying it's willing to come to the table. I mean, let's go, baby. This is good stuff. Woo! There's a lot of good stuff happening right now. Meantime, headline story. They're not going to give you the good news this morning at the Kansas City Star. No way, no how. I know, you're shocked. You're stunned.
Talk about a bombshell.
You are stunned. There's a big, scary, dark photo of Donald Trump and Attorney General Pam Bondi on the homepage of the Kansas City Star right now. Color me shocked. They can't have a good Friday, can they? They just can't celebrate. They can't be in a good mood on a Friday. It's impossible for them. I mean, Trump's in the White House. They're not allowed to have a good Friday. So here's the story from the Kansas City Star and what they're writing about here in their headline piece. They write here, Trump cuts are dismantling support to these crime survivors, KC advocates say. And what they do is they highlight this organization, Activating Change, which lost about $2.25 million in a matter of days because of grants terminated by the U.S. Department of Justice. Now, this organization operates remotely but has ties to the Kansas City area. Its mailing address is a P.O. box in Raytown. And prior to the cuts, they had 3 employees who lived in Kansas City, and now they only have 1. So the headline piece in the Kansas City Star is about a company that needs federal grants to operate and just laid off 2 people. Their headline piece is about 2 jobs that were lost in Kansas City. 2. Please, I promise you, you think I'm making this up. I'm not. I am not making up a story about the Kansas City Star's headline piece today about 2 jobs lost in Kansas City because of grants that were terminated by the DOJ.
At a business with a P.O. box for an address.
Yes, in Raytown. Correct.
Nothing says storefront.
Yeah.
Or office complex like a P.O. box. So I'm not sure how big this outfit even was, right?
They had 12 employees is what I'm looking at here.
And
12.
a P.O. box.
Yes, and a P.O. box in Raytown. All right, so don't sell them short on that. But here's what Activating Change does. They believe disability, survivor advocacy, and criminal legal system reform fields play a critical role in securing freedom and safety for people with disabilities and deaf people. Seems like a very admirable organization. I'm not knocking what they're trying to do here. They say that their mission is to end victimization, criminalization, and incarceration of people with disabilities and deaf people. That's admirable. It really is. It also seems like a great opportunity for the private sector to step to the plate and donate their hard-earned monies from individuals and businesses to this cause. And I'm sure that there are many in the nonprofit world who do not get any federal grant money who are doing just that. I guarantee you they are out there. But now you have the headline piece here at the Kansas City Star on a Friday morning talking about 2 job losses for Activating Change in Kansas City, as if somehow now, and you know what the whole goal is here, to highlight that the Trump administration doesn't care about deaf people, doesn't care about the disabled who, might be victims and might be incarcerated. And look at how awful the DOJ is and Pam Bondi, and they're losing jobs in Kansas City, and they're not willing to help deaf people. I mean, it's man, once you know the playbook and you know that that's all they've got,
sure,
it's like I've seen this.
It.
Exactly. I mean, it's just time and time again. It's the same thing every single time. You know what's coming. It's tired, by the way. They got to revamp the playbook. Like, you give Andy Reid credit, man. Every season, that guy's willing to and wanting to adapt. He's breaking stuff out every year. Yeah, he's got Patrick Mahomes. He understands he's got the best quarterback in the NFL, but he doesn't rest on his laurels. Here's the problem. The Kansas City Star doesn't have Patrick Mahomes, and they don't have Andy Reid running the playbook. They've got Jamarcus Russell as their quarterback, and they go to the same old crappy plays they've been going to for the last 10 to 20 years. And it's like, I can smell this thing from a mile away. They line up at the line of scrimmage, and you know exactly what play is coming from the Kansas City Star. And that's why we're happy to stuff them in the box or sack them every time as well.